are having a conversation about the collective awakening. And this isn't anything new. It's been happening for the last 30, 50 years, this acceleration of consciousness. What I love is the synchronicity, though, about today's scripture, because I actually pulled that scripture as part of the conversation. All right, the awakening in consciousness while we're in the midst of all this change. But actually, I love YouTube, so I love watching astrologers. All right, you got them astrology, because everything's just energy. Astrology is kind of like your GPS, right? Because I know you thought they're like, don't use astrologers, crystals, or tarot cards. But I like listening to them because everything actually is energy. You think about the moon, how it affects the water. Well, we're water beings, so I like to listen and see what they have to say. And sometimes it's just really insightful. Sometimes it's just very entertaining. But there's this woman, Pam Gregory, and she's British, and she's very sophisticated, and she sits there, and she's got this beautiful background, and she's talking about the energies of 2024, I can't do accents, and she's sharing how we're in a time of such acceleration, and acceleration and awakening in a positive way. And yet at the same time, there's a lot of change and chaos. And how do we stay awake and grounded in that entire process? And it reminded me of the prophecy of the Rainbow Warriors that I'm going to read quickly. This comes from the Cree Nation, indigenous, the largest groups of the First Nations, Native Americans in North America. And it says, one day there would come a time when the earth being ravaged and polluted, the forests being destroyed, the birds would fall from the air, the waters would be blackened, the fish being poisoned in the streams, and the trees would no longer be. Mankind as we know it would all but cease to exist. But it says the rainbow prophecy, as it's come to be known, refers to the keepers of the legends, rituals, and myths that will be needed when the time comes to restore the health on earth. And it's believed that these legendary beings will return on a day of awakening, when all people will unite and create a new world of justice, peace, and freedom. And they will be named the Warriors of the Rainbow. They will reteach the values and the knowledge that has been lost in time, demonstrating how to serve with wisdom and extra perception, and how unity, harmony, and love is the only way forward. So what do we teach here? What do we teach here? And Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhist teacher, says it's time for us to wake up together in order to do something to change the situation. So they're saying the same thing. So to understand humanity, we have to understand the humanity within ourselves while understanding the divinity within others. That's Karen Waldron of the Light Makers Manifesto. We're all speaking the same language. That's going to take love and harmony and wisdom to navigate the changes that we're in. Now, humanity has always had change. There's always been chaos. But here's the difference. What we are teaching, what we can find on YouTube, what, Unity, Centers for Spiritual Living, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, you name it, you find it, used to be kept secret for the high priestess and the priest, right? You can find it anywhere now. But the key is that when we understand these universal principles and laws, it's about consciousness, not control. So how do we stay in that level of consciousness while we're watching the chaos literally rising? I had this conversation with my mom last night. I told her to stop watching the news. Because we don't want to be ignorant of what's happening, but she's been in such fear of what's going on, and it truly deeply concerns her. And I was like, Mom, we want to be informed, but now it's starting to get a little like it's taken over your life in a way that's not healthy. Well, what's the one thing I can do? I mean, you pray the rosary every night. Pray for peace and harmony. Trust that people are coming together for the awakening. Because what's happening is when an old paradigm is being released, there's that chaos and that grasping for control. Fundamentalism is rooted in fear because uncertainty is so scary for some people. The great master teacher that told us, Jesus said, when two or more are gathered in my name, I'm present, right? Consciousness is present. And so how do we navigate what's going on without doing a spiritual bypass, right? Because sometimes I have people like, oh, it's all good. I'm like, no, honey, it's not good. I know people who are so have children who are homeless in my school. They're hungry. There's war. All this is happening along with all the beauty and the coming together and the community. That's the sacred paradox that we're living in right now. But where I place my attention, that's where my energy is going to flow, and that's where my intention is leading me in a more mindful way of awakening. So Pam Gregory said that we are accelerating in consciousness. So who feels like time is going quicker? Or is it just because I'm getting older? Yeah, time feels like it's speeding up. Every time I tell a friend, hey, I'll call you this week, it's 2 weeks later. And it's not because I'm not paying attention. And it's this whole like, wow, something is happening, change is happening, the shift is happening. These teachings are becoming such an integrated part, and yet there's resistance to these teachings, right? Because 1,000 years ago, this was happening in the temple, none of us would be there. But now I can go on YouTube, and I'm literally meditating or listening to a service online anywhere in the world. So the expansion of consciousness is the awakening of oneness. But oneness doesn't mean sameness, and some people are afraid of that. Oneness is recognizing there's this intelligence, this presence, this power, love, and wisdom that is seeking to reveal itself uniquely and authentically as each one of us. But some people resist that because they feel like if I break free from this old way, what's going to happen in the future? It's so uncertain. So, we used to just have horses. Now we have these beautiful cars. We can fly. We're going to have flying cars like the Jetsons, right? Because you look at the Jetsons. But it's like you have to stay open to possibilities and notice what you're feeling during the shift. Ernest Holmes, the founder of my movement, said, open at the top. Open at the top. Question everything, but shift into the consciousness of the world that you seek to reveal in, through, and as your life. So how do you stay grounded in spiritual principles and your practices when the world seems to be on fire? And the key is to find the practice and the community that helps you stay grounded in this truth. Because we're all awakening. So think about the time before you found unity. Anybody here raised in unity? Thinking, right? Not judging our background. But imagine growing up with this level of consciousness and awakening, which is why I love all the children's movements and unity and centers for spiritual living. To give them the tools to live in their magnificence, to understand who they really are. So for us as adults, we have to ground ourselves in the individual so that we are individually then affecting the collective. Think of it like we're adding these drops of water to the greater reality so that we're purifying the fear because we're getting to that place of love. We're not denying what's happening, but we're standing in truth and principle that this is not the spiritual reality of our ultimate nature, but we must bring it forward. We must say no to violence and yes to love. And sometimes we have to take a stand that's very uncomfortable. But we want to ground ourselves in this expansion of consciousness so that we can see with eyes that see beyond what we can really see. And that takes practice. All sorts of things are going to be revealed. Think about Shirley MacLaine out on the limb. Anybody ever watch that? I loved her, right? I loved her. They actually got to meditate with her years ago. But I was part of a group on, I'll digress from my talk, but I was part of a group online with her. And we all decided to go to Ojo Caliente to anchor this meditation that our friend Anita got. And it happened to be close to Santa Fe, and Shirley invited her to her house to meditate. And she was powerful because she did a chakra meditation, right? But her book was so courageous. Now, let's be clear. In the East, all of them talk about reincarnation, right? Past lives, no big deal. But in the West, it was a huge deal. And she had to stand in that courage and questioning everything because she watched her own life kind of unravel and expand. But that courage to say something greater is seeking to emerge was an act that then affected a lot of us to be, oh, I'm not alone. Right? Which eventually led me to New Thought. Because I found that, and then I found Reverend Michael Beckwith, and then I found Centers for Spiritual Living, and then I found Unity. Right? Think of James Redfield, the Celestine Prophecy. I got to meet him too. Living in LA was a great time then. But who read the Celestine Prophecy? Anybody here? All right, the 9 insights were the first book, then up to the 12. So he's talking about synchronicity, and then seeing energy, and then expansion of consciousness, which is what we teach here. Revolutionary seminary 30 years ago. Now, we can find it on YouTube. But there's still people who are living in what makes them comfortable, and we don't judge them. And we all have to move through this world together. And how do we wake up collectively without getting stuck in the judgment? And so the law of agreement, which I love in unity, says, I behold the Christ in you. When conflict begins to reveal itself in us, we immediately agree with God. We affirm our unity with divine mind and the love and peace found in that connection. We treat the other person on the level of their innate divinity. We know that God is in both of us. We say lives, moves, has a being in, through, and as us, and we give up our judgments and trust divine order. So we trust divine order. Judgment part, giving that up, we got to work on that, right? Because I'm not quickly to give up my judgment sometimes. All right, somebody's in my face and it's coming at me. My human aspect is going to want to, like, I'm not feeling safe. I'm having these difficult emotions. I don't want to bypass that. Because spiritual bypassing is looking at something and saying, it's good because we don't want to deal with the difficult. I have to stand in the difficult. I have to process the difficult. Thich Nhat Hanh also says, he goes, when you see somebody and you know that they're suffering, we don't engage in the suffering, but we as humans suffer. And then we move into this law of agreement after I've been able to navigate. What am I feeling? Like my mother has a need for safety, right? For her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchild, all those yet to come. So she worries about the world. So I must acknowledge my human experience first, and then I must come from my heart, to the best of my ability to meet in the moment, to the best of my ability the law of agreement. And let me be very clear, sometimes you're going to have to set boundaries with people. And that's okay. You can still see somebody's divinity and set boundaries, because I'm in the process of that with someone right now, who continues to want to engage in conspiracy theories with me, who has been very vitriolic, her language has been very violent and vitriolic towards me, and I'm just not willing to engage. I'm willing to see the truth of her divinity is being masked in fear right now. So I can meet somebody where they're at. I can also set boundaries in a loving way. But in order for us to awaken collectively, I must know that this potentiality of awakening actually exists as all of us. It's not God and something else. So in this collective awakening, we're being called to rise up. We're being called to hold the high consciousness. Did you know that music is one of the highest ways to elevate your consciousness? Art, poetry. So we have prayer as a practice. But when those times when you're feeling unsettled and the world seems a little bit on fire, turn to some of this beautiful music. Are you recorded, Rachel? I gotta find Rachel's recordings and bring them into my home. I used to drive with like my new bought CDs all the time. Now I don't have CDs, it's all on my phone. But we have to elevate our frequency and vibration with music as beautiful as Rachel's. With music that we hear that inspires and ignites us, all right? So that we can come together to be these rainbow warriors, to bring peace into the world. We're going to navigate complexities because if we're navigating peace, there's going to be like the conflict that we're dealing with. Law of agreement. I see the divine in you, but also human expression. I have to deal with my difficult emotions or speak in a way where I feel safe. So it's not either or, it's both and. So as we continue to awaken, we'll start seeing more and more of the good that is seeking to reveal itself. We'll have to take a stand at times, but we don't want to get lost in the chaos. We want to bear witness to it. And then bring our consciousness, bring our tools, bring our light, bring our love in service to the world. Because what did Jesus say in Matthew 25, which is what I love? Because what we're being called to is to serve each other. We're being called to, in whatever way, be love in action. I'll share with Sandra that Reverend Eric Folkworth, who I adore, who's a Methodist minister, he's in Oklahoma now, but they have a van, they go out to help the homeless, to pick them up and bring them somewhere where it's warm. And I did it, on Instagram, I go, you are love in action. Thank you. Thank you. You are love in action. So what we're being called to is that Jesus said, for I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. And then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you as a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick and in prison or go visit you? And he said, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. That is the awakening. When we understand that each one of us is an expression of the divine, no matter what the condition or the appearance is, it's the expression of the human life. That we can start seeing with eyes that see God, that see Christ, that serve in some way to lift each other and not take each other down. Because sometimes it's just easier, people say, to get caught up in the fight. You know, Brene Brown calls it that common enemy intimacy, right? We get together and we don't like the same person or same political party. And what we're being called to is that how can I stand true to the truth of the oneness of God, and in this human experience, though, awaken and then serve in a way that is benefiting more than harming people, right? Because sometimes the harm is so heavy. When we're awakening to this collective energy, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And so we can do it with joy, which is why I like the Lightworkers Manifesto by Karen Walker. We can do it with joy. She says there's ways that we can spread our light. She quoted Edith Wharton, who says, 2 ways of spreading your light is to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. But Karen says that the 3rd way is to make it and take your gifts to serve the world. And that's how, with the collective awakening, we can participate. So contemplate, what gifts are yours? Even if you're retired. You're sharing your gifts here. But what gifts are yours that are part of this collective awakening that can serve the world in love? My mother is an amazing cook, and if someone's in need, she will make them a great meal. We went and delivered a meal to my sister-in-law's mom, who suffered a mild stroke. So contemplate that. What way are you willing to serve? And contemplate the practices that keep you in your heart, which is why I love heart math. So we have meditation, we have affirmation, right? And we do our prayers, but we can also have these human practical skill sets like heart math. So who's aware of Heart Math Institute? Awesome. So with heart math, they literally study the energy field of the heart. So everything that the mystics have taught about, heart math is now scientifically proving. Always rely on the mystics, okay? Always rely on the mystics. So I'm going to teach you one technique, because what they're saying is that we can come together in this global coherence within our hearts. Doc Children, one of the co-founders, says accessing our heart's natural intelligence can create an energetic field of unconditional love and harmonious interactions, helping humanity to realize we are one earth, one yard, one people. So, in the collective awakening, in all that is happening in the world, we are being called to actually live from our heart, from the kingdom of heaven within. So I'm going to teach you one technique, because I think it's really easy and really powerful. So in heart math, and it's everything Christ taught, everything, to live and to serve from your heart. So in heart math, we literally focus on our heart because they've studied an energetic field that extends from our heart, that literally when we come together, when 2 or more are gathered, affects the global coherence of the world. Like our energy field together, which is why our thoughts, we must be in high watch of our thoughts and our actions and and what we're listening to and paying attention to, because we are affecting the field literally. So we focus on our heart. And in heart math, we imagine we breathe into our heart. Then what we do is we activate a positive emotion. That's the difference between mindfulness. Something that makes our heart smile, all right? And then I'm going to take you through a process called freeze frame, all right? So for a moment, because we're wrapping it up very quickly here, think of something, bring something to your heart that makes your heart smile. I always think of my nieces and nephews when they were little. I used to spin Vincent and Anthony in the front yard. I can see their little smiles and then tell me, do it again, right? And it makes me smile. And that's the energy of the heart you want to be in. Not something that's going to take you to worry, something that makes your heart smile. So put your left hand on your heart and take a deep breath in. And imagine you're breathing deeply into your heart. And then that exhale, just letting go, but dropping deeper and deeper into your heart. Take another deep breath in. And a little bit slower. And one more deep breath in. And then as you breathe out and continue that pattern, that slow, deep breathing, bring into your heart that feeling of appreciation. Somebody you care for, something in your life that makes your heart smile. And allow yourself to be in a few deep breaths with this feeling of appreciation. Focus on our heart. And now ask yourself, in what way can I serve? In what way can I serve and be love in action? And just listen or feel. So breathe it in. Breathe it out. Just observe what arises. And if it doesn't arise now, know that it will. But if something has arisen, sustain that beneficial attitude and ask your heart, once again, what is the one way I can take this out into the world as action? Love and action. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Let your heart smile. Slowly open your eyes. We can stay in this longer if we had more time. And I invite you to do it at home. Heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling of appreciation. Ask, listen, and then commit to an action. And keep it simple. Because we are the rainbow warriors. They call it the rainbow because of all the different cultures and colors and personalities of the world. We are the expression of God. And the simplest of actions can bring the most profound benefits. Just sitting here, and your music, Rachel, is so phenomenal. Just sitting here, and let's say you come in and you're not feeling that vibration of love, and then we are literally touched by that music. That is an act of love that shifts the vibration. And then our sharing of gratitude for each other and for love. So the collective awakening is awakening to the oneness that is God, the power of the presence, the unique way that we show up, and then how we can literally be that love in action. And watch for whatever happens in 2024. It's going to be a fast year, they say. That's what they're predicting. So be present, be mindful. Keep an open mind, open at the top. We're going to have, not just about technology and science and medicine, but there's all sorts of levels of consciousness that's awakening. And see where you're uncomfortable and breathe into it and say, what is it that I am receiving and knowing in this moment? And whenever you need a hug, come to Unity on Greenville Sunday morning, and we'll be here for you. All right? So the collective awakening is always happening. It's a way that we get to come from that place of love in action, and just know that we are here together. And anytime you need support during the challenging times, we are a safe space for you to come. Bring your difficulties so we can transmute them in love and bear witness to them. But we together are stronger. So stay present, stay mindful, Bring love in when it's possible. When you're having a difficult time, let yourself be loved, and know that this is the way that God shows up. When two or more are gathered in love, it amplifies. And you, my friends, are the amplifiers. So take a moment and close your eyes, and let's just breathe into this awareness of the presence of God. Whatever wisdom has arisen is the wisdom of God within your heart. Whatever action that's being called forth is the way that your gifts are being called forth into the world. And what I know to be true is that there's only one power, one presence, one love, one wisdom, one harmony, one divine intelligence making itself known into it and as all of life. So I just know and affirm and declare in this collective awakening that as the vibrations are shifting to that frequency of love and light, that which is higher, that whenever there is some difficulty, conflict, or what seems to be darkness, I know the light prevails. So I know for each person here that their unique talents, their unique gifts, their unique light in this world is so necessary, and I give thanks for the way that they show up in the world. So I know that we are guided, we are guarded, we are loved, we are lifted in every single way. Every single way. Because there's only God, always God. And I turn to that indwelling presence within. I acknowledge the divinity in other people, and I awaken to the truth that peace is possible when we gather in the name of love. So knowing that it is so, that whatever intention has been seeded here today, whatever hearts that have been ignited and lighted into the world, that indeed it's all led by divine love and divine wisdom. And knowing that it is already so, that love is present. Love is present. I give great thanks. And I let this word be. I let go. I let God. I let it be. And together in love, we claim this truth, that love is more powerful than any darkness. And we are the light. And let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is. So it is.